We are going to cover two concepts in Step 4. The first concept is called the proper spending question. The second concept I want to discuss is carrying cash. We have discussed carrying cash briefly already, but I'll go into more detail here. These two concepts are critical. Step 4 could be considered the most important part of the entire Focus for Payoff program. Achieving success with this program takes almost no physical effort on your part. Some of the personal decisions may be difficult, but you don't have to study or read at length, and there isn't a lot of homework. I'm going to ask you to fill out a few forms and to carry cash. The rest, believe it or not, is pretty much automatic. Listen, I believe that we have to make spending choices almost constantly, almost continually. Large expenses or small expenses, that's a fact of life in our culture, in our time. I believe that every time we are faced with a spending choice, we ask ourselves a mental question, a mental spending question. We all do it, and we do it virtually every time without fail. It's nothing more than a habit, but it's a habit we all have. We ask ourselves a mental spending question every time we have a spending choice. You see, what two generations now are doing wrong is asking themselves the wrong spending question almost constantly, almost continually, every day. We are doing this several times a day. The reason it's happening is because our wallets are filled with plastic cards and personal checks instead of cash. Listen, the wrong spending question is this. This is what goes through your mind. Do I want this thing or not? That is the question going through your mind every time you have a spending choice. Do I want this thing or not? The thing being whatever you have the opportunity to purchase at the time. It could be a meal at a restaurant, some new clothing. It could be a car, a house, or anything at all that can be purchased with money. It can even be something for your spouse, children, or others. This is not the way to spend your wealth. This is not the way to spend at all. Here's why. The answer is far too often yes. Far too often. This is why generations are debt-ridden and feeling poor in the richest nation in the world. We are asking ourselves the wrong spending question constantly. I'm going to tell you what the proper spending question is, and you don't have to write it down. You don't have to write it on a Post-it note and stick it on your bathroom mirror. You don't have to concentrate on it or repeat it over and over to yourself. It's going to happen. It's going to become part of you. You'll learn it automatically if you leave the paper checks and plastic cards out of your wallet and put cash there instead. Now, before we go on, I want you to understand that the proper spending question has nothing to do with what you need or what you can afford. I find that many people go there mentally right away. You should not be asking yourself, do I need this thing or not? That's a bit extreme, don't you think? If you were to limit yourself to only the things that you actually needed, then you would have food, water, shelter, and not much else, wouldn't you? That's not what I want for you. I don't want you to limit yourself to only what you need. I want you to have everything you need and a whole lot of other stuff that you want and things that you want for others too. This is not about your needs. I also do not want you to ask yourself, can I afford this thing or not? Many people do this, but the word afford means different things to different people. If you can afford something, does that mean you can afford the minimum payment on a loan for the thing, or does it mean that you have all of the money now? If you can afford something, does that mean that it will cost only some of the money you have now, or all of the money you have ever saved? I think the word afford has become so confusing that it's not helpful at all. the proper spending question. Make no mistake, this is important. The quality of the rest of your life is at stake here. You know what the proper spending question is not. It's not about what you need, and it's not about what you can afford. I'm going to tell you what it is, but first let's talk about carrying cash. Chances are there was a time years ago when you carried cash regularly. For a lot of people, it was when they were single or when they got their first job. It's a period that most people can remember. Maybe it was the time before you had a checking account or before you ever had a credit card. The important thing to look back on, though, is how it made you feel to carry that cash around with you. If you were saving your money up for something special, you could watch your savings build right there in your pocket. Every time you reached into your pocket, it would remind you of that thing that you were dreaming about buying. Just a few more paydays and it would be yours. Even if you were only saving up to go out on the weekend, you sure knew on Friday exactly what you could and could not be doing when you went out that weekend. You either had enough money for the movies and the gas to get there, or you didn't. Most everyone can remember that carrying cash was an empowering experience. It allowed you to dream and it gave you choices and you had no debt. You couldn't possibly get into debt. When your money was gone, it was gone. That was it. And you had to find something very, very special to buy before you were willing to part with every last dollar, didn't you? I want you to be empowered again. I want you to dream and I want you to have choices. When you start to carry cash again, you can have all of these things every day. But you have to carry cash in order to get them. It's the only way. I know it's not the way you have been doing things for a long time, but it's so important to get back there within the next 2 months, even while you still have debt. Even if you can't remember what it was like to carry cash around with you, I want you to try to be open to this opportunity. Focus for Payoff is a comprehensive new way of thinking. It works, and it works very quickly, but every part of Focus for Payoff is important, and carrying cash is one of the most important parts. When you carry cash, you won't need to carry a credit card around with you. You will be able to stop carrying your debit card around with you. You should stop carrying your debit card around with you. You won't ever have to take your personal checkbook out of the house again. Carrying cash will provide you with the ultimate convenience. You want convenience. Everyone seems to want convenience. What could be more convenient than having the money you need right with you all the time? When you start to carry cash, you'll need to know how much to carry and how often to replenish it. Okay. The number we are going to shoot for is $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses. I want each of you to put $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses into your wallet. That's not per couple, that's per person. You may not be able to do it today or tomorrow or even next week, but as soon as possible, I want you to carry $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses. You certainly must get this done within the next 2 months. I understand that you feel you don't have any money, much less an extra several $100s to carry around. Later, in steps 6 and 7, we will find hundreds of dollars that you can use to supply your pocket money. My goal here, though, is to help you understand how very important it is to get to that point. Let me ask you a question. Do you have more than $50 on you right now? Take a look. Does your spouse have more than $50? How much do you earn in a year? How much does your spouse earn in a year? Chances are that the two of you earn tens of thousands of dollars a year and you don't have $100 between you. Doesn't that seem wrong? You work so hard. You've worked hard to get where you are, and it's tough to scrape up $100 between you. That's wrong, and we're going to change it. We're going to change the way you feel and the way you spend with $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses. Later on in Step 7, we'll go over your living expenses with the 1-year spending summary, and I'll show you how to figure out what 2 weeks' expenses is. But generally, what I'm referring to is all of your local expenditures: food, haircuts, gifts, gasoline, home repairs and maintenance, etc. We are not referring to the debts or bills you pay by mail. You will use checks or electronic payments for that. It's critical to do this immediately. It's important not to wait 6 months to do this because you'll want the benefits to start as soon as possible. So, what you will be doing is first figuring out how much cash you need for 2 weeks, then you add $200 to that number and put that amount of money in your wallet. I realize you may not be able to do this right now, but it's very important to work toward this goal just as soon as it's possible. Now, each of you will end up with several $100s in your wallet. Let me tell you what that will mean. You won't have any credit cards on you, so you won't be incurring any more debt. You won't have to worry about paying for your local living expenses because you will have 2 weeks' worth plus $200 in your wallet. Understand also, $200 will buy a new bathroom faucet. $200 will pay for a tow by a tow truck. $200 will cover most unforeseen local expenses. You can feel secure. And if you have a partner who is carrying $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses, then between the two of you, you will have an extra $400 right with you all the time. Now, there's one more thing that needs to be addressed here. I have received this question from literally hundreds of people after I teach them to carry cash. They ask, so many of them ask, what if I get mugged? What if you get mugged? Okay, first, stop hanging out in places where you might get mugged. No more dark alleys or condemned buildings. Second, keep your money to yourself. You don't have to show everyone that you are carrying cash. And third, even if you do get mugged once a year, every single year for the rest of your life, and every dollar on you is stolen from you, then you will still be thousands of dollars ahead of where you would be if you didn't carry cash at all. Because carrying cash automatically reduces the amount you tend to spend by at least 15%, you'll be saving far more than you can lose even if you did get mugged. But don't get mugged. The same goes for people who are worried that they might lose their pocket money. Take reasonable precautions so that you don't lose your money. Keep it in a wallet right on your person instead of in a purse that you might put down somewhere. If one of the things you want in your life is to have more money so that you can have more choices, then it's important not to be afraid of money. You should see how some people react when they see 5 $100 bills. Money is not something to be afraid of. Money is a very useful tool that can change the quality of your life. Get some, touch it, carry it, and don't be afraid of it. If you are afraid at first, I assure you, the feeling will soon pass. We started to discuss earlier in Step 3 about how often to replenish your pocket money. You should visit your bank or ATM machine once every 2 weeks to withdraw just what you spent in the prior 2 weeks and use that money to replenish your pocket money. Let me be clear on this. You should visit your bank or ATM only once every 2 weeks, not more often than every 2 weeks, and not less often than every 2 weeks. This new habit is very important and will have a profound effect on your spending decisions in just a short time. If you run out of money during your 2-week period, then you still have to wait until your next 2-week bank visit. Your only other option should you run out of money is to ask your spouse or partner to either give or lend you some of theirs. Limiting your bank visits to only once every 2 weeks should not be a problem since you have an extra $200 with you that you shouldn't need at all. Remember, too, that when you visit the bank, you should withdraw only the money you spent in the prior 2-week period. You should not withdraw an entire $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses every time you visit the bank. Withdraw only the money you spent. In the first 90 days, most people start to learn the proper spending question. Let me tell you what will happen. I'm going to tell you what will happen so you are not shocked when it does happen. You see, this process is where you are going to learn new, more productive habits. People behave in general far more due to their habits than due to their intent. We all know the right thing to do, don't we? Then why don't we always do the right thing? If that's all it took for success, then none of us would be in debt and we would be wealthy beyond measure. But that's not the case, is it? Financial success is as much a product of your habits as it is a product of your knowledge. Spending money is even more a product of your habits than it is a product of your knowledge. The principles I have given you about carrying cash are not to change what you know about money. They are to invisibly change your habits with money. In the first 2-week period, you are going to have this $400 or $500 in your wallet for the first time, and it's going to feel like free money. It's going to feel like free money, not because it is free money, but because you are not used to carrying this much money. Because it will feel like free money, many people will overspend in their first 2-week period. You see, it's not your first 2-week period that I'm concerned about. It's the rest of your life that I'm concerned about. Don't beat yourself up if you overspend in the first 2-week period. This is the tuition you are paying for one of life's greatest financial lessons. In the second 2-week period, you will have replenished your pocket money one time, and you will be somewhat used to carrying it, but it will still feel new and maybe even strange. Some people overspend in the second 2-week period. You will have paid for gasoline with cash 2 or 3 times by now, and all of your lunches at work will have been paid for with cash, and all of your entertainment expenses will have been paid for with cash. All of your groceries and dinners out and everything else you buy locally will have been paid for with cash. You will have spent several $100s in cash just for regular necessities by the end of your second 2-week period. That may be more money going through your hands in a few weeks than in the last several years, in cash, that is. It's not the same feeling as swiping a debit card or credit card. It's a much different feeling to actually hand over the money you've worked so hard for and then count your change and mentally add it to the amount still in your pocket to see how much you have. Here is where the magic really begins. By the third and fourth 2-week period, your pocket money doesn't feel free anymore. It doesn't feel strange anymore. What is becoming painfully real to you is that the cash you earn by giving away 40 or more hours of every week you have is being taken from you. It's being taken from you by the grocery store clerk. It's being taken from you by the school where your kids go when they want another fee for another activity. It's being taken from you by every restaurant, gas station, convenience store, and newspaper stand that you visit. It hurts to break $100 bill after $100 bill. When you see how much money you are spending, when it passes through your hands, you start to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm not doing it anymore. I worked too hard to lose it all this easily. And I'm not asking you to study volumes. I'm just asking you to carry $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses, and your thinking will change automatically. Most people, within 90 days, they've got it. The proper spending question is, Do I want this thing, or would I rather keep my money for something else? That's the real question, isn't it, when it comes to spending? Isn't that your real choice at hand? The reality of spending is not whether or not you want something new. We all want something new. The reality of your choice is whether you are willing to give up your money for that thing or keep it for something else. You're going to get something you want, but should it be this thing? The proper spending question is, do I want this thing, or would I rather keep my money for something else? Be clear on this. This is not an intellectual process. This is a habit process. No matter how smart you are, the only way to learn the proper spending question is to carry cash the way I have described it. Okay, now let's discuss what I call the 4 points of carrying cash. Stay with me here. This is new. There are 4 possible spending scenarios. You can carry cash or you can carry plastic. Those are 2 different choices. With each of those 2 things, when you have a spending choice, you can either spend or not spend. So there are 4 different things that can happen when you have a spending choice. You can have plastic with you and either spend or not spend, or you can have cash with you instead and either spend or not spend. 4 different scenarios. Got it? Let's look at each of the 4 different scenarios and explore how they can affect your life. In the first scenario, you carry your credit cards around with you, you have virtually no cash on you, and you come upon spending choices constantly, as we all do in life. What happens then? Well, debt is what happens then. The spending question that goes through your mind is, do I want this thing or not? And the answer is far too often yes. Sure, I want this thing. One person told me that it felt to him like he was getting something for free when he used his credit card. You just have to swipe and sign, he said. It's not like paying at all. You have experienced firsthand what it's like to carry credit cards and no cash. It doesn't work. In the second scenario, you carry your credit cards around with you, you have virtually no cash on you, and when you come upon a spending choice, you decide not to make the purchase. After all, we don't buy everything we see. Sometimes you say no. How does it make you feel when you say no? At those times, you may feel disappointed that you don't make the purchase. Disappointed may be an understatement. You may feel that other people get to have good things. Why can't you have good things? You may feel that you work so hard at your job, but it doesn't seem to be paying off. Is it ever going to pay off? And the worst feeling of all is that you may feel poor even if you're not poor. There is a whole host of negative feelings that come up just because you did not make a purchase that you had a chance to make. And worse yet is that you will still be getting a credit card bill for your existing debt even though you didn't make this particular purchase. I know you don't want all of those negative feelings haunting you day after day. In the third scenario, you don't carry any plastic cards at all, but you do have $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses in your wallet. You come upon spending choices, as is expected, and what happens when you actually spend your cash? When that happens, you'll be operating with the proper spending question. Every time you have a spending choice, you will, by habit, ask yourself, do I want this thing, or would I rather keep my money for something else? You'll be far more discriminating about the things you purchase. You will most likely be spending 15 to 25% less than you used to spend. So you may even put more value on the things that you do purchase. You'll feel better about what you do buy. You will be looking at spending in a whole new way. Everything that you buy will be a fair trade for the money you are handing over to get it. As a bonus, you will never get a bill or a credit card statement for anything you buy because everything you buy will be paid for in full when you get it. In the fourth scenario, you don't carry any plastic cards at all, but you still have your $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses in your wallet. You come upon spending choices, as is expected, and sometimes, more times than ever now, you decide not to spend your cash. How will that make you feel? You decide, after asking yourself the proper spending question, that there is at least one other thing you would rather have than the thing in front of you now. You're not saying no to spending money. You're saying yes to the thing you want more. That's the real choice, and it feels empowering to make it. You are in control. Having several $100s in your pocket feels pretty good, and since you already have the money, you don't have to spend it to feel better. You already feel better. You feel good whether you spend it or not. The best feeling of all is that you will feel rich even if you're not rich. And as an added bonus, you will not be getting a bill or a credit card statement for any purchase you make ever, because you pay cash for everything. One woman in particular, who was also a tax client, had learned the entire Focus for Payoff program and applied it to her life. She became debt-free in just less than 24 months. I met up with her soon after that at her regular tax appointment, and we discussed the changes that happened in her life. What she told me was that 2 years ago, she used to go to the mall every so often with her wallet full of credit cards, but no cash at all. She would stop in the first store that interested her and maybe buy some shoes because they were on sale. She would stop in the next store and buy a blouse she liked, and the next store and buy a new purse. She put everything on her credit cards and built up a serious problem with debt. She invariably left the mall with arms full of shopping bags, trying to ease the pain of last month's debt. Shopping was like a hobby, and the debt was like a nightmare. After a very successful and rapid debt payoff experience with Focus for Payoff, this particular woman found herself still visiting the mall, but now she had $200 plus 2 weeks' expenses in her wallet and no credit cards. She would stop in the first store that interested her and pass up the shoes she liked in case there was a better deal down the way in another store. For that same reason, she would pass up the blouse and not think much of the purse. It became much more difficult for her to find things that she valued enough to give up her cash for. Now, she invariably leaves the mall with a pocket full of cash that makes her feel better than shoes, better than extra clothes. That's just one example of the power of carrying cash and the proper spending question.